Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, or I should say distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Let me first of all just observe protocol by really thanking NIDO America, the Calgary chapter, for inviting me to be the guest speaker at this professional dinner today. I must extend apologies for not being physically present with you in Calgary this evening. I did all what we can to get the necessary Canadian visa documents to be with you. Unfortunately, it didn't come to pass. But that's probably a story for another day. I'm really pleased to have this opportunity to talk to this distinguished audience for granting me the opportunity to share, I think, what they called success defined, the challenges and the strategies behind that. I'm assuming that everyone believes I have been a success in my career to date. I always believe that success is actually not defined by what you do or what you've achieved. It's always really defined by the milestones and the key milestones that you leave behind. But irrespective of that, let me see how I can address this particular subject matter from my own perspective. I'm sure you all know the name. My name is Ademola Bero. I see myself as a intrinsically E&P professional. That means I'm an oil and gas man. That's all I've done from my university days. And what I'd like to share is just talk to you about what my journey has been like. So, give a bit about my background. I went to secondary school in Lagos, primary and secondary school in Lagos. I went to this fantastic secondary school called Igbobi College, up IC. I'm sure there are people in the audience who probably went to that school or hoped they had gone to that school. But then, left the shores of Nigeria to do A-levels in Ireland, went to do my first degree in offshore civil engineering in Hertford University in Edinburgh, did a master's in petroleum at Imperial College of Science and Technology in London, and then started work. Short stint with the likes of Schlumberger, and then short stint with the likes of Ashland, which has now become ADAX, and then a long stint of 21 years with Shell, about 5 years with British Gas, and then culminating into working for myself in First E&P. A long journey. I've been in this industry 30 years plus in terms of working experience. But I think it's not about my working experience you want to hear today. I think the important thing to share, what are the key beacons that I have gone through that depicts what I think success should look like, and also how one weaves challenges and strategies together. And when you say strategies, is how you weave. When you say strategies, it's how you weave, how you enable success to happen to really come to pass. So in my mind, I always try and break down someone's success or someone's achievements in three main buckets. I think of your professional life, and for me, it's me as an E&P professional, an oil and gas professional. I think of the leadership realm, because sooner rather than later, as you grow in your profession, you start to have responsibility for not just one person, but a team, a company, and a business. And that requires that leadership element to come in. So the second one is leadership. I think the third one in this whole success realm is how you're relevant to humanity. And I'd like to talk about each of these three as how they played in my own life. So let's take the first one, being a professional. I think there's nothing, this is like foundation. I actually don't think you can build leadership or relevance to humanity if you don't being a professional. So I'm going to talk to you about myself. Being an E&P professional, my background, petroleum engineering, and I worked as a well-site petroleum engineer, production technologist, production engineer, asset manager, chief petroleum engineer, on and on. Well, when you look at yourself as an E&P professional, there are several ladders you have to go through. And I think when I talk to young people, one of the things I emphasize a lot is that you have to know your onions. I mean, whether you are a welder or a technician or a plumber or a production engineer or reservoir engineer, you have to know your onions. You have to know the rudiments of your business. So your first few years of your professional life is gathering that. And I have a rule of thumb. If you don't spend the first 10 years of your life honing your professional skills, it will tell in your life down the road. And what do I mean by that? If you haven't spent the first 10 years really honing your skills, you lose those 10 years, you don't gain them back. Because assume you graduate at the age of 24, 25, some people are lucky to do it earlier. But if you lose between the ages of 24 to 34, 35 as a professional, where you haven't honed your skills, by the time you get into your 40s, you've actually already become a leader, a senior person who should be mentoring and developing others. But if you don't have those capabilities, you can't mentor anybody. So I have a very clear view that your first 10 years are actually critical foundation formation times of your professional life. After that, you start to be senior, you start to have more responsibility for wider than your professional areas of competence. And then you go into the managerial side. And following the managerial side, you go into what I call business leadership. That's when you're running companies, you're running assets for companies in a particular country. And so when I talk about being an E&P professional as the key part of my success, if I look at my life, I started as a well-site engineer. Then I went to being a production engineer, and I went to becoming a senior production engineer. And I think I graduated at the age of, I think I finished my master's program at the age of 22, 23 was when I had finished the educational bit. But I did not see myself as a fully accomplished professional until I was in my 30s. I think early 30s. Senior, then I was going to the managerial route. And then from there, asset leadership. I think I left Shell as the business director in 2006 on the board of the company. But then I could see my professional life. Now I know a lot of people shift from different kinds of career. It doesn't matter, but you must be able to grow yourself through that. I think that is very important for success. Let me go to the second part. And the second part for me is leadership. Leadership, for me, I always break it into two segments. There's business leadership, and then what I call leadership of men. Business leadership is you are the manager of that business, and you have to have managerial skills, but you must also have leadership skills. And I always believe that managerial skills are different from leadership skills. Okay. Okay. The two of them, managerial skills and business leadership.
And one way.
In one way.
You want me to say that?
Yeah.
Okay. And the one way I can differentiate between managerial skills and leadership skills is managerial is about delivering results, managing the business. And you do need to be able to lead people to do that. But people have been successful in being very good managers, but they may leave behind them a trail of dead bodies who have been burnt out or not been treated properly. I think the difference that I always point to is really in two areas. That you can sustainably deliver all the time requires requires leadership skills. And that people will follow you irrespective of the challenges that's ahead. That's all about leadership. So business leadership is critical in all of this. But then I talked about being a leader of men. It is not what you say. It is not the role you sit in. So it's not the job title you're given. It's just who you are. There are examples in the world today of people that everyone admires and follows, and it's not because of the title they carry. These individuals can impact everybody around them just because they're there. I'm going to use one example which a lot of you may not be familiar with. We have a new president in Nigeria today, President Muhammadu Buhari. This man came on seat as a president of this country, and certain things changed overnight. And you're going to ask yourself, what is it that makes those kind of things happen? That because he hasn't said much, but because of who he is, certain things have changed for right just because he's there. And that's one example I just want to show you that being a leader of men is one of the elements of success. I think the last one is relevance to humanity. And that's not one that I'm a perfect example of, because I haven't really delivered to humanity as I should, or as I desire to. But I think if God gives me good life and strength, I will be able to do that in my years ahead. But giving to humanity is actually what makes the perfectness of man. I'll use one example, Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter, Democratic President of the United States, fantastic man, but his presidency wasn't as successful. But clearly a leader of men. But what has really crowned Jimmy Carter's success is actually how he's given back to humanity through the Carter Foundation. So you look at the Carter Foundation, it's going to outlive Jimmy Carter and his wife. Jimmy Carter was the leader of the Democratic Party in the US. He was the president of the United States. But what do we all remember him for? It's what he has given back to humanity. So if I summarize for you the three elements, one is being that professional. Whatever your calling is, be the best you can in that, because that forms the foundation. And I can see that in my own life. The second one is leadership. And let me say this, leadership is a journey. It never ends. You're never a perfect leader. You always learn as you go. And the third one is, able to give back to humanity. There's a young lady, I think she's from Pakistan. She was shot in the head by the Taliban. I think she's about 15, 16 years old. Her name misses me. But she's already giving back to humanity at that age. She's already displaying leadership. And when you hear her speak about education for Muslim girls, you can also see what she's doing. So if you take those three things, those are the elements of success for me. Let me anchor these three elements in some things that I hold very dear to. And they are what I call, they're the intangibles. They're not the things you say, they're not the things you do, but it's the impact people feel about you. It's what people will say about you when you're not there. You can call it's a core. So one of them, your values. For me, my values are about integrity, both business and personal integrity. And sometimes people separate business and personal integrity. People say, well, I have personal integrity, but in the business I work in, we do shady things, but I need a job, so that's where I am at. I dare say that people will be in turmoil internally when they work in that kind of company. So business integrity and personal integrity are the same for me. Being fairness in all you do. Where you have to take a tough decision, you do. But where you need to be fair, you also do. And fairness and tough decisions are not things that are separate. You actually can be tough, but that also means you're being fair. And the last one is what I call trustworthy, dependable. Those are the values that I espouse to. But let me give you the flip side of the values that that people don't talk about, but I like to refer to them. And there are about 3 of them there, which I think over time, you know, it came to a head, or it came to more reality for me when I worked for Shell and when I worked for BG. I think one of them is not taking yourself too serious. And people say, well, what does that mean? And what I mean by that is, you know, don't take yourself too serious. It cannot just be about you, and what's important to you. And that allows you to have a lighter side to you. Yeah? I think the second one is, I'll give you a preamble to that. In my journey with Shell, when I was quite senior and I was going through a assessment, Shell was assessing the top 50 of the Shell group, and I was one of those who were being assessed. And you had to go through a series of interviews. And one of the consultants who interviewed me said, look, I look at your journey in this company and you've never failed at anything. And he said, can I give you a small advice? I think I was about 42 years old then. And he said, find something you can fail in so you can learn what failure looks like. You know, he told me this thing, and this thing has stuck in my head since then. And I take it as one of my values, which is do not be afraid to fail. Just be ready to learn from that failure event. Because it's an event. It will pass. It's how you actually recover from it or learn from it that it doesn't become destructive to you. And you know, the last one of my values is it's not just about me. It cannot just be about you. This world is not just about you. And that's linked to the humanity side. But those are my values. And I think those values are linked to how successful I can ever become in this world. But let me also share some other foundations linked to values. There are 3 others that are very important for me, and that's why I don't suffer fools. And what I mean by not suffering fools is I don't like people who just talk. You got to translate that. So a lot of people have ideas, but they never can translate it into reality and value. And sometimes I always feel they should just shut up. Really, a successful person is one that can translate an idea, a concept, into reality and value. And it may not be huge value or huge success, but at least they can take that idea into some reality. Because that reality will employ people, will energize people and all of that. I think the other one is inspire. One of the key foundations for me is how can I inspire people? And it's a key part of me now because I know that a lot of people tend to look up to you. They tend to look up to me. And hence, there's a responsibility around inspiring. I have a friend who used to tell me, don't leave somebody without making them feel good. Now, that's a cliche. But really, the inspiring side is where you can make a difference, do it. And I think the last one for me is that don't leave any situation you're in, don't leave any opportunity you've been given without making it change for the better. Because you can't just live in this world occupying space and air. and consuming the air in this world and breathing out carbon dioxide or whatever you breathe out. So I think for me, the other foundation is making sure one can make a difference. So let me summarize. I've taken probably about 15, 20 minutes of your time, but let me summarize. Have I been successful in my own career? I think I've been successful in certain parts, and there's some certain parts that I wish I could have done better. But clearly, I know I continue to hone my skills as a professional. I continue to pursue my leadership journey. And I constantly think how I can be relevant to humanity. And those three things embody what success of a man can look like. Let me stop at this point and just again thank NIDO, the Americas, the Calgary section for giving me the opportunity to share my personal thoughts. Some of you may disagree with some of the things I've said, but take them as the personal things that have shaped my journey to this point in my life. Thank you very much.